Okay, thank you everybody for being here with us today. I am your host and moderator, Lotus Lane, and I'm a performer and industry relations advocate for Free Speech Coalition. And we are very happy to present to you this next panel in our Life as a Sex Worker series of informational panels that kind of give us more topics than just website information, but life information on how we navigate all of this as sex workers. So this is presented by Chatterbait. Thank you for being our sponsor. And I will go ahead and introduce our other lovely panelists. We have the very talented Lola Jean, and I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lola Jean. I am a sex educator and a pro-dom. My main form of sex work is I do wrestling fetish, but also in my sex education, a lot of my performances and video work involve sexual acts with other people too. So that comes into a factor in conversations when dating a lot as well.
Very nice. Thank you, Lola. And then we also have Ashley Lane.
Hi, I'm Ashley Lane. I'm a porn performer. Yeah, that's just me.
Great. Thank you, Ashley, for being here. And also we have Shayla Lange.
Hi, my name is Shayla Lang. I am a Brooklyn-based pro-dom and dungeon owner. And I feel like I touch a lot of dicks, like a lot of dicks. So that's where we're at.
I love that tidbit of information. Good to know. And then last but not least, we have Samuel Polish.
Same, Shayla, same. I am Samuel Polish. I'm a current full-time stripper and former full-service sex worker, occasional pro-dom.
Whip it out when you need to, right? Love it. Well, thank you all for being here and making time to share with all of us the way that you kind of date and navigate this life as a sex worker, finding love and companionship. So we can go ahead and open up with how we all do that. We all have very different approaches. And I think that's one of the great things is there's no one way to date as a sex worker. So yeah, we're just sharing our experiences here. Why don't Lola, you go first and then I'll go after you. Oh, you're on mute. Hey. Wait, you're on mute.
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
I was like trying to produce and do this at the same time.
Okay.
So I cannot meet people in the wild. I do not like to feel hunted, and I find that I'm often intimidating when I approach. So I really love dating apps, and I've met so many friends, lovers, my current like long-term relationship partner, the person whose house I'm staying at right now is someone that I met on Field a couple of years ago, and we just maintained a friendship. We've like fucked the first time and now we're just friends. But I found a process that really works for me, and what maintains my sanity is going to be different from people. So I like to lead. So my persona and myself, we're kind of the same person, but it's different names. And I feel like my civilian persona, like my real name, that feels very vulnerable and special to me. And I don't want to just share that with everyone. So how I like to lead is that I'm all persona, but I'm still me. So you're talking to me, but you're going to talk to Lola, and you don't know who I really am. I don't necessarily like to lead with what I do, because I tell them I want you to get to know me, not my persona. I'll tell them that, I want you to get to know me before you get to know me online. I'd rather have you the opportunity to do that with me in person. Now, they don't have to follow that, but all of these different things just gives me information about them. So when I do this, maybe after we've gone on a couple of dates, honestly, at this time, maybe it's like a couple of months in, sometimes I don't really find a need, depending on the seriousness of our relationship, to even tell them my civilian name. Like, it's not necessary. I'm telling you all the things about me. All those things are true. It just might not. They know about my job. I want to be the one to introduce that to them. I don't want them to find that out online. If they Google it, that's their own business, but I hope that they respect my wishes. Now, what's really helped me maintain my sanity is creating a values list. And I think some people might think of this as boundaries, but I think it's really helpful to put it as like, these are things that are of value to me, because that way I'm just looking for someone whose values either match with mine or that they can accommodate my values. And if they don't, that's okay. We're just not necessarily the right people for each other. So when I say different values of like things that are important to me, so punctuality is something that's really important to me. And I know a lot of people don't share that, and that's okay. So I either need someone who is punctual or someone who can communicate around their lack of punctuality. It's also important to me that like someone respects the time that I need to get to know someone before that's physical. And sometimes it's the same day that I meet them in person, and sometimes it's 3 months later. You know, it's really just depending on what I'm feeling with my body. But this has happened recently of someone I've been talking to, and they were kind of pushing, let's meet up. And I'm like, actually, I prefer to talk to you a bit more before I meet up with you. And I mean, that is actually how I felt. And I prefer to do that because I don't want to like meet up with every person and waste my time. I'm trying to take time to understand like the information they're giving me, if they're trying to rush me into something or not. But I don't trust people, or I don't feel like I know who they are until I tell them no to something that I actually mean. So I told someone, I don't want to meet up right away. I prefer we talk for a while to determine if you're someone I want to meet up with. And this person's like, okay, that's fine. And then we kept talking. Some people would be like, well, I don't want to waste my time. And that's totally okay. But that shows me we're not aligned. That shows you that like my values aren't necessarily the same as theirs, which doesn't make them a bad person. But this is part of like not casting a wide net. And that's the mistake I made before, which made me burn out, where you're trying to, you know, get as many people as possible because it's a numbers game, right? But that's going to burn you out completely. So trying to find people whose values align with mine, trying to, you know, where is there the sexual chemistry? I'm not going to see if this person proves me wrong for the person that I think they are. And maybe I lose a couple of good ones when I don't cast as wide of a net, but I'm also avoiding so many bad ones. And I don't mean bad ones for everyone. I mean bad ones for me and what is the right fit for me. So creating this values list, like I'm going on a lot less dates, but I'm also going on a lot less bad dates. I have like a higher batting average in that respect. And sometimes it doesn't go well. Which happens, but it's really just reminding myself that like I don't owe anyone anything, and I'm just trying to give them room to. People will tell you everything you need to know if you give them the space for that. So really listen to what people are telling you, and this can start with reading their profiles. What are they telling you with their profile? Are they telling you they didn't put a lot of time into it? Maybe that's one of your values. Or what kind of pictures they're putting up there, instead of just being, oh, they're hot. Of like, for me, if somebody really likes Burning Man, we're probably not going to get along. We're really not, unless they can like make fun of themselves a lot. For me, that's something where I'm like, that is an absolute swipe left, because I know we are not the people for each other. It might be for someone else. So it starts with reading their profile, even filtering it on my profile, and it's speaking to the people you want to interact with and not. And I'm just trying to give them information of like, here's how to interact with me to be successful. Here is how I like to be interacted with. And then seeing if they can listen, respond to that, you know, all of these acting and improv things that some people might be familiar with. I could probably go on and on about this as well, but like my whole thing is it's a filtration process, and it's really taking it as information and not putting as much pressure on it, not casting this wide net, not being like, oh, I didn't go out on this person seemed really hot, but it didn't work out. And honestly, it's, you know, what is success? It maintains my sanity as well too. And I love field for that reason. I think it's easier to have the conversations, but again, so many things have turned into lovers, friendships, orgies, friends, going to a wedding of a couple I met next year. Like all beautiful things I do absolutely love dating apps. I know not everyone does, but I do love them.
Nice. Very, very cool. So yeah, I was gonna say that's informative. I guess I'll go next and then I'll pass it to the next person as far as the way they date. I actually got told by one of the people that I matched with that my dating profile was very informative and it really let them know what I was looking for. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What I try and present as is my true self, not my performer self. So I'm presenting as the actress that is Lotus. So the way I kind of meet people is they don't get my real name, because I'm totally with Lola on that. Like my real name is Sacred. They get like an abbreviation. So they're meeting the abbreviation, And as such, I kind of, you put like interrogator on there. I guess I kind of do. And I have these levels of like doors that open with each correct answer they give me. And a correct answer is going with Lola's theme of alignment. If they align with me and my values and what I'm actually looking for. If they answer in a way that doesn't, you have to really, with dating apps, you have to really trust your instincts. Don't brush past that feeling of, oh, that was kind of a whack answer, or that was kind of strange. But they're so cute. I still want to, like, you really have to tune into that intuition and listen to it, because it is there for a reason. There's so many other people you could meet. It is a numbers game in a way. There's so many other people you can meet. So you don't have to feel obligated to stay with someone just because you matched and you had a really cool first interaction or something like that. So yeah, that's something I've learned in the past too, because I've had some interactions where I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm looking past the red flags. So basically, I kind of prepare myself for those red flags and ask things up front. So as a performer, as someone active in the adult industry and very involved in advocacy and all of that for sex workers, one of my earlier questions is always like, oh, so what do you think of like OnlyFans or porn stars? I use it in a very casual way. That's not too scary interrogation, but just enough to kind of see where their head is at in that answer. If they answer like, well, whatever people want to do with their body, it's their choice, then another door opens, because yes, you're open with understanding that people are able to make these decisions. But if there's any slight sense of judgment, then I know I need to pursue another match or something. And yeah, it's really helped me, like the way you say success is defined by so many other people. I feel like I'm successful in the way that I do create valuable interactions with people, where I feel like even if we don't become lovers or something that's very deep and profound, we got value or information or knowledge or some sort of something that enriched our lives in a way. And I think that's because my interrogation process is so thorough and complete to me and what I want and am looking for, that I don't actually ever end up interacting with really horrible people. And yes, like Lola says, it goes into the way you screen them when you look at their profile. People that don't say anything, guys that straight away say like, I don't want to see your Snapchat or Instagram, are going to have a negative attitude about us running our business on Snapchat and Instagram. So it's just little things like that you kind of have to tune into and use your intuition to be aware of what a person's attitude is gonna already be about towards us, someone like us. And one of the things that also I don't ever do is link my Instagram. That is like 100%, I think, one of the major mistakes a lot of us do. Like, obviously, our Instagrams are very impressive. We're very sexy on there. We have a large number of followers and all of that good stuff. But I think one thing that can happen is either people think that our real profile is a fake profile of us, the persona, and then they flag it, or they think we're like, they're trying to do some illegal kind of, what I mean, illegal activity, which we can or cannot, but I just don't want to put that on there where I could be, I guess, eliminated from a platform where I enjoy, just like Lila, I really do enjoy online dating. I think it's better than in person approaching people, because that always used to make me feel very like nervous when someone would come up to me and talk to me. I was always looking for an escape. And with online dating, like you swipe or you're just like, oh, I'm not feeling this person anymore, unmatch. So yeah, that's how I approach things. And with that said, I will pass it on to the next panelist, whoever wants to go next. I don't want to put anyone on blast, but whoever feels ready to share, raise your hand. Okay, Miss Shayla. Yes, Miss Shayla.
Hi. Okay, so I have been on and off the dating apps I first joined OkCupid back in 2010, I believe, and it was very, 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 very different back then. It was very different. And the way they got a lot of their user base was they would have people fill out little quizzes, and it was really precious. And it would determine your like percentage match with somebody else that was on the app. And it wasn't an app back then, it was just on the desktop. And at the time I was a stripper, and they used to have questions, and you could submit your own questions. And so I submitted, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 questions. Like, would you ever ever date a stripper? Would you ever date a sex worker? Would you ever date somebody that had like a, that was very, very close with other men at their job? Like that sort of thing, like members of the opposite sex at their job. And and then I answered all of them. And so it would prompt my matches to answer all of these. And that was a really quick way to eliminate people from the match list. Now, we don't have that anymore. OkCupid has gone the way of Tinder and is now very swipey and swipeable. But one thing that I do is, depending on what I'm looking for, obviously we all tailor our profiles depending on what we're looking for. If I'm looking for more of a long-term relationship, then obviously I'm going to use my real name, but I won't use any photo that I've ever taken for my job in any capacity of it. So like there's no selfies of me fully clothed in or outside a dungeon. There's no, I even try to keep I have these big stompy boots that I wear all the time. I even try to keep those off the platform because I don't want somebody to recognize my face, because my face is out on all of my ads. I don't want somebody to recognize my face and put two and two together like, oh, this is Shayla. And then also, I don't want anybody who swipes right on me to think of when I eventually tell them no, because I will tell them all no, to go back and be like, this is a hooker profile. Like, this is not okay. We need to report this because I'm mad at her. That sort of a thing. So, and they get my first name. My first name is relatively uncommon. So it is annoying, but I figured there were enough of us in the world that if they decided to find me on Facebook, like it could be taken care of. But so I keep it super, 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 extremely, extremely vanilla. Like I don't even bring up like kinks, but I do, like I ask, a bunch of like kind of rapid fire questions. It's like, okay, well, like, who did you vote for? Do you have any significant opinions on Palestine? Because I know that like if we're not going to connect on like a political level, then we don't even need to bother if we're going to connect on what we do for my job. And so if we don't get along, then we're obviously not. It's not worth like throwing another, almost like a grenade at them. Like, oh, hey, by the way, I know you've never dated a sex worker, but like here we are. Like you need to let me know if this is a deal breaker for you. I need to figure out what their deal breakers are for me, because I like to tell people no. I like to tell them no. I like to kind of file through them. I'm kind of a control freak. Like imagine that a dominatrix is a control freak, right? But I love, 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 love the apps, because then I can filter through them and I can almost like create my dream man or set the search filters so strong that it whittles the city of like New York, where it has 8 million people in it, down to like 6 possible matches. I'm like, great, okay, we'll start here. We'll look for love here. And if we don't find anything, we'll widen the search. Not a big deal. So with my current partner, I have a long-term partner. We've been together a little over 2 years, and we met on the apps. It was supposed to be a one-night stand. My one-night stand profile is a little bit different. They still get the first name, because I still don't want them to think that this is a fake Tinder profile made of like my sex work persona. But it also does have like a couple of dungeon selfies, because I'm like, look, here's what's gonna happen. Like I'm gonna like this is how this evening is gonna go. Plus I look really hot in them, and I'm trying to be like, look, hit, quit, like everybody's gonna swipe right on this. That's the point. Point is, one thing that I do for security purposes is, if a photo exists of me on the internet, say for example on my Facebook, on my personal Instagram, on my work Instagram, like anywhere, if it's been uploaded anywhere else on the internet, I will flip it, like in Photoshop, and then post that one on Tinder, on OkCupid, on Fields, on whatever, because when they Google reverse image search that, it won't just pop up with like my entire LinkedIn profile. So that's very much a safety thing for me. Also, sometimes I'll just like make it, like I'll see if there's an uncropped version of the photo and post that, because that also fucks with the Google reverse image search algorithm. But other than that, I'm like, if I'm here to sleep around, then I'm going to make myself look like the most attractive piece of meat. And I don't tell them, because the thing is, the people who, if this is a one night stand, you don't need to hear about my job. You don't need to really know anything about me other than I would like to fuck you. So, and then, we'll, I mean, obviously we're going to make this clear that this is a one night stand, and the profile is tailored towards that, like, you know, something platitudinal, like, oh, not here for a long time, just here for good time, something really stupid. I don't remember what I wrote on my last one, but basically I think I was cracking jokes about how everybody had ethically non-monogamous, and I was unethically non-monogamous even though I was like single and like completely unpartnered. Like, I will fuck you, I will fuck your girlfriend, and then I will leave both of you. And so that's where we're at. And yeah, so I tailor my approach for different purposes, and then I let them know once we've gotten past that first barrier. I've noticed that others on the panel have talked about, like, okay, well, once they get this past this manner, they get this information. Once they get this information, then they might get this information. And I'm very much the same way. It's just in different scopes of the conversation. I try to analyze their feelings around other things, because that gives me a pretty good idea of what they'd be like around sex work and sex workers. Also, my current partner, I decided I didn't need to tell him because it was supposed to be a one night stand. But then we got to talking about kink and kinks, and I said, we were eating peanut butter pie, and I told him about my specialty, which is scat play. And he choked on the peanut butter pie, but then kept eating it and said, yeah, that's fine. I've never met anybody who does that. So let's, I don't really want to hear about this while I'm eating my pie. I'd like to finish this first, and then we can talk about it. But that's the thing. That is the thing. You really need to, like, you either kind of put it all out there, because at this point I was just trying to, like, fuck this man and leave. And so it doesn't matter what he hears. He was also going back to Europe the next day. So I was like, oh, this is fine. I can tell you anything I want, because I will literally never see you again. And that's what you really need to sort of infer, is like, how likely is it that you're going to see this person again? How much can you put out there? Like, how honest can you be, while still retaining, like, what do they need to know, and what would be fun for them to know? And so, because at the end of the day, like, this is a fun thing, and this is, dating should not be, it is so often a horrible, horrible, horrible slog. But it should be fun. It should be exciting. You know, you're meeting new people, you're doing new things. If you look like me, you get a lot of dinners paid for. Like, it's a fun time. Like, we have a great time doing this. But so you really have to figure out what you feel comfortable letting somebody know. Figuring out ways to kind of see what they're, almost like read their mind, but like ask like questions surrounding the work that you do. And then once you're there, then you can decide whether or not you feel good about letting them know. And not everybody is going to feel good about this, and not everybody's going to be nice about it. And that is okay, because you are fabulous and wonderful and incredible, and they are suckers, because people pay sex workers tons and tons and tons of money in order to just, like, I don't know, see an ankle, go to dinner. Like, this, the fact that this person that you've swiped right on for is telling you, like, no, I could never do that. That's, they're within their right to not want to date a sex worker, but it's also, like, weird to me. I'm just like, okay, you mean you don't want this for free? Like, okay, you do you, and that's fun, and that's exciting. Well, not exciting, but it is what it is. Just take the dinner and leave. So yeah, you want to figure out kind of what your goals are, what your needs are, what you feel comfortable with. And then once you get there, say you are in a relationship with somebody and they have never dated a sex worker before, or they say they're okay with it and they don't mind, you want to look out for some red flags. Red flags being, like, it's totally okay to set those boundaries, being like, hey, babe, like, for example, my partner doesn't love hearing about the scat sessions. He's like, babe, I love you and I support you, but I do not want to hear the gruesome details. I don't need to know the consistency. And I was like, okay, that's totally fine. However, he will listen gladly to all of my other session stories. So it's important to set those boundaries, but it's also important to know what sort of boundaries are a red flag for you, something that says they're really not okay with this, that they said they were, and but they're not okay with it. One thing is not liking hearing about work, not wanting to hear about work, not being able to say what their boundaries surrounding your work are. If they just get frazzled and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to think about it. Like, not being able to think about it is a red flag. Oh yeah, cringing about your work. It's huge. When they can't depending on how out you are as a person to like your family or their family or the community at large, the non-sex work community at large, this can be a tough one to navigate. Like my mother-in-law knows what I do, but my grandmother-in-law has no idea. And that's something that we figured out. That was a boundary we all set together. Like, okay, mom can know because the rest of the world knows, but grandma, like, it's okay. Grandma doesn't know how to use the internet. She wouldn't understand, and that's okay. So you have to figure out what those boundaries are once you're actually like past that sort of first date, second date, third date, couple of months. What are we doing? Is this a situationship or a relationship? You know, to figure out what those are, and because that can also be a colossal minefield. So good luck, y'all.
Definitely. Oh my God, Shayla, thank you for sharing so many insights. Like, you're so full of wisdom. And you're funny as fuck, and you're also nasty as fuck, because I had no idea you did scat play. I love that. Okay, so with that, who else wants to take the microphone and talk about their dating tactics? Samuel, Ashley, who wants to take it away next? Go ahead, Samuel. You're like voguing with me. Do it.
I will take it. Hey, y'all. So yeah, I think Lola was talking about casting a wide net. I'm a wide net caster. We be fishing. If there's an ocean, we're dipping a toe in it. We're dipping two. Yeah, I'm a wide net caster. Just because I feel like the lines that my expression crosses, I might as well see where all of the different people and where they're identifying and if they're into what I'm selling. But yeah, dating for me is super fun. I enjoy it. I like meeting new people. I'm really personable. I always learn something. And then I'm also a big old hustler. So I figure whoever I meet, I'm going to be able to turn whatever it is I meet them into to like the next person I have to talk to that night and be like, oh yeah, I just totally heard about Ohio. So I might as well talk about it to you as well. So it's like, it's useful resources for work for me as well. But so if you can like think of an app that would accept anyone who is feminine expressive, I've probably been on it. Anything that is queer centric, gay centric, probably been on it. Back to the OkCupid days. I loved OkCupid. That shit was fun as fuck. There was like the hookup culture of it was just like that nice type of blend where like you could meet someone, but also like the bangarang was pretty much imminent. So yeah, I miss OkCupid. But now the one thing that I personally am just like, this is where I'm at currently in my life. This is a personal moment, but with gender expression being something that I am more comfortable with, the world is more comfortable with. It's something that's really important to me lately is in queer spaces and specifically gay male, cis gay male spaces to check in and make sure to see how people are around my females, to put female energy around me ASAP so that it's not me as just the only female energy. And then if they're weird about it or whatever, but I need female sex worker energy around me. I need my stripper energy around me because when people are okay with me, sometimes I feel, and like, I think I get a little bit of the male privilege and the white privilege layover where they'll treat me as an exception or like oh, I'm okay with you doing it or whatever. But I'm like, this is my world. This isn't a costume I'm putting on. This isn't like, I've been doing this for a career for over a decade and it isn't going anywhere. And then when it comes to discretion, I'm a little bit, I fucked up many years ago and I used to get really fucked up at work and forget what name to use. So my civvy name and my persona name are very similar. So in doing that, I've had a lot of crossover. I've also been doxxed back in college. So when that happened, I went to a full like retrograde, don't have any like internet, no Facebook, no nothing. But that was like such a freeing and liberating situation because then the only persona that I then had online was sex work adjacent. So then I didn't have to worry, well, if you found me, it's already out there. It was freedom in a way, even though it wasn't it wasn't with my consent. It wasn't the way that I wanted to do. But I am older and wiser now, and we went through all of that. But like, it was shitty when it happened, but now we're just cruising. So you will probably see me on any gay adjacent app as you might get both of them. And if you swipe on both of them, there's a probably a better chance that I will hang out with you as my real self, because I can see that you're like, that you're down for all of it. But the biggest thing that I have experienced with my dating profile is I actually turn most of them into work or monetization, because I I don't know. I think it's just like there's like a sparkle unicorn ism around me, that it's like there people want to tap more into that, or either experience more of that, or see more of what it's like, or, and if I tap out and if I'm done, then I just let them know like payment is the only way it can continue. So that's, I've had a lot of switch over. Um, but the other one that I want to be always really careful about, though, on the gay ones, because a lot of them have your location connected to them. And that's the one that anything that has a location connected to, I won't ever do personal. I don't ever do my personal stuff. So like that's for grind. In fact, I'm lying to you. I do have one personal grinder one when I am feeling hookup one, but that's only on a I have that on an iPad, and I don't ever like take that with me, because it's just like if I want to be personal or whatever. But I advocate for however many profiles that you need to scroll into, because the last thing that I ever want to do is feel like I'm just only limited to one pool, because when I'm limited to it, I feel like I don't get what I need, and sometimes I need is quantity of dates to feel how I'm going to. For me, honestly, if I don't go on a date for myself, I feel like my sexual expression, my sensual expression is only taken for work, and that also makes my work worse. And I like I I, I can't get it up for all the things that I need to do if I'm just not satiated, happy, fulfilling myself, and sometimes just fucking with the system, fucking with my own system, because it is like workflow is a real thing, and work burnout is a real thing, that I just need to make sure that, like, for me, quantity is my best bet. But and then like the latest thing that I've been really advocating for myself on is a conversation that I'm not only dealing with, it's like work and in my dating life, but work life, like aftercare is such a big discussion, and it's such a big thing that I bring to clients and to everything. And discussing aftercare for myself as a professional is something that I've become more confident in talking about. And if I can get into that conversation with anyone via, like, if we're dating and they get to know and get past the point of me saying, oh, I'm not just a dancer, I'm not just a teacher. If they get past all of that, I need them the sooner the better to know that I also have things that in adjacent to my work. It's not like on work hours, but I have windows of time that I need space. I need to shut my phone off, and I'm not saying you're not accessible to me, but like those have to be things. Like also in the amount that I dance, I'm like bruised more heavily than probably any bitch you've ever fucking met. And so the sooner that someone knows that about me and sees that and says, we need to take care of you as well, or be on that level, then I know that we're going to go to a deeper emotional connection. Because the things that are the nitty gritty of my work life that lays over into my personal life, uh, I try to like head those conversations off as soon as possible, because I don't want to waste my time with anyone who isn't going to be caring for me as much as I think I deserve to be cared for. Bitches. But yeah, so cast a wide freaking net if it's for you. And also, I'm a social person. I'm a social butterfly, so it works for me to meet people. And then in pandemic, it made it so much easier to like check in with how much further away I could see. I dated someone long distance. It was fucking awesome. The online sex was really freaking good. And I didn't have to worry about all the other parts that it was like, oh, do I have to like go and lug to their place and do all the other weird, awkward things that I didn't want to have to deal with. So online, cast a wide net, baby, and handle all of the things that are super important to you. For me, it's the nurturing of myself in adjacence to my work, and that's like my big red flag detector. The sooner I can check in with, hey, how I need to feel, be seen in this situation, and sometimes remove myself from it, then if I can have someone that supports that. I had one partner that supported the fuck out of it, and that was one of my most longest term relationships. And then the worst part about it is I've had a couple of them and they are all the wannabe sex workers. And those are the ones that I always have I think the physical attraction tends to like happen and blow out the water. But those are the ones that have left me feeling the most abused, emotionally exhausted, and unpaid, and feeling
Thank you for
unpaid.
bringing that up because that's definitely a question we're going to get into after Ashley does her dating style profile. Because, yeah, it's real out there, the fetishization of our jobs and our work and our industry, and that, that feeling of being used for other people wanting to get in the industry, because we all know that's such a real thing. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, Miss Ashley Lane, take it away.
I guess I'm definitely a little bit different than all of you. I actually hate dating apps. And I hate dating, but I love meeting people and I love fucking people. Like I'm a giant slut. So, you kind of have to balance it out. I'm also super shy. And I don't drink or do anything, so I don't go out that often either. So that's where dating apps come into play for me. Um, so yeah, so we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier before all of you. I usually have a very vanilla profile, photos that I don't use for work. I have a Hinge profile and I threw in something like with the little chain emoji. So like I hinted at my kinkiness. Um, but I have like a field app or like profile, and I kind of associated that with the lifestyle. And with the lifestyle, I introduced myself as Ashley. And I've noticed that because I am poly, but there I felt like it's more of like more hookups than relationships. And I want more relationships at this point in my life. And so I don't, yeah. So I try to stray away from the field app, even though they are more open-minded. Just because like I find that's a lot of like sexting, and I hate sexting. No, like just come over and fuck me, like, and then we can have a conversation. Like I hate sexting. So as far as like the vanilla profiles, I try to I try to get like a gist of the person. Like I'm not that picky, like I don't have a type or anything, but I definitely notice red flags like in their photos or their profile, in the conversations. But I try to meet up as soon as possible. I I just like feeling their energy and their vibe and having a conversation. And on the first date, so I'm an open book, so people could just ask me and I'm like, whatever. So usually when people ask me like in the chat, I'll say I'm a model. And they have maybe like one or two questions, whichever. But when I meet them in person, I tell them, like I'm in the adult industry, I'm poly, I'm a giant fucking slut, like, kind of like throw it all out there, because it's like if you aren't afraid of everything, then like I'm willing to go on a second date with you and like can maybe pursue something. Like I want to scare them off as much as possible, so I don't waste my fucking time. But I love meeting people in person, uh and like all walks of life. So it's always fascinating, even if it is just the one date for me. Um yeah, so I like being honest, and most of the time I would probably say 80% of the time I get like a good response. Um, so that's nice. I also want them to kind of get to know me, I guess, as like a vanilla person first before I throw that out there, even though like my Ashley Lane, like that is me. Like it's not really a persona, like that is me. Um, And so, yeah, and then, I also love to talk about my kinks and stuff too on the first date. Again, also to scare them off, but it's also just a fascinating conversation. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. I'm so brutal, like I'm brutally honest, and I'm like, you're okay with this or you're not. Like, so, yeah, I don't know what else.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that you've shared a lot of really good stuff. I don't know what this question is asking me. Okay, there we go. Anyway, no, that's great because I think that we all shared really different approaches, and I think that's fair and valid, and that's the beauty of dating as a sex worker. Like I said, there's not one approach and there's not one way to do it. One of the main things that we do have to be careful for is people wanting to get in the industry and protecting ourselves. So let's talk a little bit of how we protect ourselves. And I guess we can mix in Priestess Ava's question a little bit of how you deal with triggers, like especially when how people approach you or respect you in dating. So for me, kind of bouncing off of what Ashley was saying, I like to see people's reactions in person because anyone can be texting you and be like, oh, I want this cool hot chick to like me, so I'm gonna say a cool hot sexy woke answer that will get me good points with her. And I like to see the reaction, how it hits them in the eyes and the face and the way they're now moving with me. Or did they like stop touching me, or or are they more interested? Are they asking weird questions about their favorite porn star now? Shit like that I'm like, okay, those are red flags, clearly. As far as regular dating situation respect, like when I have a first date with someone, if it's someone I'm looking to have a real romantic connection with, I always see what they're trying to suggest. If they suggest, and this is just me personally, if they suggest a bar or a coffee date, I'm like way uninterested. If they suggest some real shit, like, I don't know, a motorcycle ride and we go up to the cliff and do some cool shit, or let's go to Magic Mountain, yes, I'm more interested because I feel like that's a value of my time. I'm a super cool, awesome people that people are clamoring to speak to and hang out with. Why the fuck would I waste my time going to a bar or like some simple shit? I deserve awesome experiences and first dates. And so that's the kinds of dates I go on for first dates. So even if I don't end up having a real awesome romantic connection with this person, at least I went to like a really new fabulous restaurant that I've always been wanting to try, or like this whatever fun event, or something that I can say like, damn, I just wasted my time and just got drunk. Now I have to work out this beer gut. Like, I want an experience that adds to me, not like stresses me out. So those are the kind, I don't know if I even answered the question correctly, my own question, but basically when you see those red flags, do not ignore them because you're the only one that's going to end up suffering. They end up getting an awesome good time with a very cool sex worker that people are paying to want to talk to. So value your time, and know what that value is that you want to have. So yeah, with that said, someone else want to take it away on what your red flags are and how you kind of deal with fetishization in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's them treating me as a person and not as like a novelty. And I think the things, so I'm the world record holder for volume squirting. And that is also a really big one that will be, because that's the thing is people will always treat me as a novelty for that. And like, sure, you can think it's hot or whatever, but like, I really need them to lead with my relationship with it because sometimes I love it and a lot of times I hate it. Or it's like, it's just a thing my body does. I really don't give a shit. And it's important to me that anyone that I'm in a long-term, whether it's sexual or emotional relationship, that they'll be able to share that with me or they'll be able to understand and they can get past the novelty of it because I've tried to date, squirting fetishists and that just becomes a thing. But it's really just you can be able to see when someone is talking at you versus talking to you. And like really just letting me lead with because maybe I'm like, oh my God, the craziest thing happened in my session. Let me tell you about it. And I'm pumped about it. And other times it feels like work, but it's treating it where it's like, some people have other interesting jobs that are not sex work. And I want to know about that, but I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that's fascinating. Tell me about like the soccer industry and blah, blah, blah. Like, do all the players really do coke before the games? Like, or, it's really treating it more like the persona. The other thing too is I generally I hate most men. And I'll have a major distrust for them, especially if they're cis, especially if they're straight. And I like bisexual men a lot. And it's usually like the queer that they are, the more safe that I will feel. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily a safe bet. But like there's someone I'm dating now, and like all of our dates so far have just been drag shows. And just had like just generally just very queer gay vibe. And I'm like, I'm more comfortable because you've already questioned stuff that society has thrown at you that is said as the norm, and you're like, fuck that. And that makes anyone who rebukes society, I trust more. Anyone who questions authority or anything that society says you're supposed to do, because toxic masculinity and sex work, like maybe they give us money, but like they don't mix together in a dating sense. So that's kind of the red flag. So you're looking out for a lot of those same things.
Absolutely. That's so true. Samuel, do you want to go next and let us know your red flags, warnings, and how you kind of navigate that?
Let us just have a double for a backup of that statement, the toxic masculinity there, because we run into that every day. For me, the second you ask me if you want to dance on my pole, or can you dance on my pole, or it's literally if I had a nickel, whichever way it's going to go. And then the second that they want to either dance more, if they want to take a class, if they want to do that, I'm like, yeah, go wherever. I'm just not your vessel for that. Or if you are, that's why I truly will just convert it immediately to clientele work so that I don't have to get into anything else that can be more triggering. And it's just self-preservation that way, truly self-preservation. But then also like the something I think this might be off topic, but it was just something that Ashley said earlier that just reminded me. Ashley was talking about how just brutally honest and unabashedly to be. And that's why I will regulate, because I get either misgendered, it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I'm presenting female, they'll immediately just boy me, dude me, whatever. If I look kind of male, it'll be like this sissy little faggot, basically. So it's always whatever I'm not in the moment. But so I will, not that I want to misgender people, that's not my intention, but I regularly, just to like get people on the level and see where we're at and see what's going on, I'll literally just introduce myself and be like, hey daddy, what's up? If you're female, I'll immediately call you like, hello, my biological father, what's going on? To see what your response is. Because if you freak out, and people will just fucking freak out about it, and I'm like, you not in my circle, you not in, boom boom pow. Is the second I see a dude, I'll be like, yes, Carol, come over here, just to fuck with them, because it really is. And it might be, it's funny, it's an icebreaker, it's whatever, but at the core, I am seeing if you're safe. Like that's just, and it gets me through so many moments of just like the person that I'm kikiing with, like in a moment, if you can hit me back and you call me daddy back right away, we're probably gonna fuck.
I
But
like that. I like that. It's so true and so real. Like you kind of have to like throw people like, aback just to see how they react. That's why I like to
yeah.
get the in-person reaction too to my
Right. And then their initial reaction is so telling,
real.
because
It's real.
when
It's
people are
what you
disarmed,
yeah.
they get to
That
feel love.
pause, that like fluttering of the eyes and like, oh, that's what you really do. That lets you know what you're really dealing with.
Right.
Or if they even like relax their shoulders and they're like, oh, okay, girl, I'm in a BDSM too. Why didn't you say something? Then you're like,
Right.
yes.
And you're like, thank you, my people. And
Right.
no matter what, we're probably going to even be friends. That's how I make the friends that I do. Like it really is. It's community building.
Honesty attracts your tribe. So yeah, let's hear from Miss Shayla Lange, how she kind of navigates this fetishization or people wanting to get too deep into your world and your work. How does that work?
I'm pretty lucky in that since I am primarily painfully straight, I don't have a lot of like dudes my age being like, I want to get into sex work. They mostly have other things that they're doing. So I'm very lucky that I don't have to deal with that. But as far as red flags, depending on where we are in the relationship, it ranges from telling them like, that's dumb, or that was a dumb thing to say, or, because I'm not going to do the emotional labor for these men. Some of them do genuinely do not know. For example, my younger brother, who is surprisingly woke for having grown up in the home that we grew up in, Yesterday I had to explain to him why Sesta Fossa was a problem and what this meant longer term, because he genuinely didn't know. And so there's so much misinformation out there that your more vanilla folks just don't know these things about us. They don't understand what we do. They have these ideas. If they don't run in circles where they have access to or have never seen sex workers before, they really have no idea. And not all of them are. I find a lot of times I'm like, okay, they get one question or maybe two, and if they ask me about it, I used to tell them back when I was dancing, I used to be like, okay, you get 3 questions, and then we're not going to talk about this. And the ones who would ask questions like, what's the craziest thing you've ever done? Or like, do people try to lick you a lot? Like, if you ask me questions about something that could be very traumatic for me, if that's your opener, then we're done. This date is over. And this is why I really like coffee and bar dates, because then I can just I can pay for my coffee and I can walk out right then and there. And they're like, wait, why are you going? Why are you leaving? You're such a bitch. And I'm like, that's totally fine. Like water off a duck's back. Like you're a weirdo. But normally they ask questions like they don't really know, like, you know, do you enjoy it? Do you what kind of music do you dance to? Do you get to travel? Or you said like questions that are about like my own joy, my own pleasure, my own comfort with what I'm doing, means that they're going to be able to ask those questions later in bed or later in our relationship. Like, what do you like? How can I, like, more so, how can I enable those things? And if they get weird, like say we've been going out for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, I have no problems ghosting somebody. I do not give a shit about that. I know that it's rude, but like men deserve nothing. And second of all, if there's somebody that I'm a little more involved with, I might do what I do with my clients, where I put mittens on them when they're trying to grope me, because then they can't grope me and they look really stupid doing it. I like to put on what I call like emotional mittens, and I like to ask them like really kind of disarming questions. That way I can figure out if they genuinely don't know, and this is a teachable moment, or if this is a much larger red flag situation that I need to worry about. And then in that case, like we're out. We're leaving this. We're blocking on every form of social media and or the Tinder and the OkCupid and the Hinge and the Field and the whatever else the kids are using these days. So
nice. Thank you, Shayla. I just dropped a link in the chat that's like little things to say if you don't want to ghost someone. I personally also don't care about ghosting people. I'll do it if I don't give a fuck. But like if you want to think of something to say, that was kind of a helpful article. I felt like it was a little bit labor heavy, so I would like reduce some of the words I would say, because like if you're already gonna like end something, like the less words is possible in my opinion. Anyway, so yes, Miss Ashley, have you ever had to deal with anyone trying to like fetishize you, your work, or trying to like make their like Weasley way into our industry? Let us know.
Not really all that much, because I'm pretty straight, so I just go on dates with men. They just ask, a lot of them are genuinely curious about the industry and about work and how it all operates and stuff like that, and I have no issue with that. It is kind of weird sometimes when they ask about the money aspect. That turns me off. I just don't like talking about money in general, and that probably makes me a bad hustler anyway. So but that's a red flag for me. I mean, I don't ask people like how much they make. That's not a priority for me when I'm dating someone. But other than that, I don't know. I have had a few people where they're like, oh, why don't we like have a threesome with like, or like, do you have any porn star friends? Like, why don't we have like threesomes with them or play with them? And I'm like, nah, like that's not how this works. And so like I actually just got out of a relationship where it was almost a year long and similar type of stuff. And again, I don't know why it was a year, but like that it's a red flag. I don't, just because I fuck for a living, I fuck a ton of people, doesn't mean that you're privy to that. And I make that known, and if there's a fucking issue, then they're gone. So
I love
yeah.
it. I love your like take no prisoners attitude about it. I mean, definitely reminded me of a moment during pandemic, someone I was kind of casually dating or whatever, and they randomly on their own said, "Oh, when you start going to red carpets and stuff, I could wear something like this," right? And I was like, I guess at home, if you just wear fancy outfits at home, because like I didn't even invite them or insinuate like you're my plus one, because why the fuck would I bring a date to an industry plus one? Like that's not even like, again, like what Ashley was saying, people assume that this is how things would operate in the industry, and that's like I would like be cock blocking myself bringing some date to industry function. That's not gonna happen. So um that's very funny. So one of the things that I also wanted to get into just a little bit more deeper is like kind of the safety and protecting yourself aspect of this. You know, we've talked a little about like, oh, we reveal things in stages and all of that thing, but I think it is worth kind of getting into the details of that, because some of us revealed some of the actual functions that we do, which are very helpful. Like for me, for instance, when we're in the app and then we switch to the let me get your number or let's switch numbers moment, I let them give me their number first. And then like, especially in Tinder, it does this cool thing where you like touch it and then it automatically adds it into your contacts. And then from there, I text them from my Google Voice number. So I get their number first, save it in my contacts, then I go to Google Voice, open that app up and text them from there. So the first message they get is my Google Voice number, not my real phone number. And after further interrogation, because sometimes you find out the person's like not a good communicator, they don't text back. Like, do you actually want someone that doesn't text back, or, you know, is busy or leaves you hanging when you send them a text on Friday or something? Do you want this person having your real phone number? Because one of the things that I notice is when you are on Instagram or other apps, sometimes it'll be like, oh, this may be someone you know, and it's like a fucking old phone number that you have saved in your phone. So that means that your phone number is in their phone too. And then your profiles could come up as someone they know. And do you want like a random person that you just randomly match with and maybe didn't even connect with that greatly, seeing you constantly pop up on their people that you may know thing? No, you want them to forget about you, right? So like, that's one barrier of protection. So once people kind of make it to my real phone number, that's how I know we have something actually going on. Like we've gone on some dates. I know what they think about my work, what they think about me being a mother and having this work. So it's like all of these layers of protection and questioning that they've already gone through to kind of get that real phone number. So yeah. And yeah, Lola, is there some more like detailed strategies and methods that you use to like protect yourself and your safety?
Yeah, and it's kind of like changed over time too. So I think now it's mainly like I wait to give my, like I'm not going to give them my number until we meet in person. But I kind of will give my number away like candy a little bit. I find it kind of hard to manage Google Voice. And I also keep my sex work is mainly all on email. I will not take anyone to phone. I don't care if it's Google Voice or my phone number. I just prefer to keep it like segregated in that way. But is something that actually has been really interesting is, like I said, like revealing my, you know, legal name feels very vulnerable and personal to me. And sometimes I'll do that. Actually, like my now boyfriend, he learned it when we were in a Lyft ride and it was dropping me off. And they're like, now dropping off. And I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, that's another layer of protection you have to be careful for, because one of these reservation restaurant apps was like, oh, reservation for, and I was like, no. So you just have to be careful.
Yeah, and like there's, I mean, I've separated it so much where it's just like there's some people I work with who don't even know my real name. And like I don't really, it sometimes just makes it easier. But when I do reveal that to them wherever it is, like that's a discussion we have, and then they kind of discuss it like, well, where do I use it? And I remember there was one person I was seeing and he refused to call me by my legal name. He's like, oh, you're Lola, so I'm just gonna call you Lola. And I remember he switched it once when there was something he wanted. And I was like, oh, that's, yeah. Because the thing is I have so many friends, like I know Shayla's real name and I can switch from it. I have a bunch of other sex worker friends and I can switch between their names. I'll probably default to a sex work name unless I know that this is a situation where I can use their civvy name. But if I can do that, so can they. It's like, it's the same thing if someone, like, you know, they change their pronouns. Like, you learn how to do it. So you can learn, if you know me by one name, you can learn how to call me the other one. And like, if it becomes an issue with them of like how they're referring to me, like that's a conversation we can have. But I think how they approach that as well, like, there are certain situations where it's like, depending on your investment in a person, like we need to stop cutting them as much slack. And it's this, again, it's the same thing. If, you know, if I'm dating someone who has a persona as well, like I don't want to, I was dating someone who did porn. I'm like, I don't want to watch your porn. Or if I do, I want to watch it with you. I don't want to know that person. I want to know you. It's great that you do that, but I want you to introduce me to your work. Or if I've already seen their work, like I really want to keep, that's a separate thing. It's a part of what they do. But it's like, if I can do that for other people, then like the person I want to be with can do that for me too. So sometimes we have to, like, you know, put yourself in their shoes and sometimes be like, wait, it's really not that hard.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Exactly. It's like if someone was a lawyer, you're not like, can I sit in on your trials? No, that's work. So, does anyone else have any thoughts they want to share on this topic? You know, how you kind of protect your real self and like more detailed methods that you use to do that? Yes, Ashley, go ahead. I love your talks.
I guess it's not really my real self. Usually when I first meet people, even in the first like few dates, I don't like to tell them my performer name. Because again, I mentioned before, I want them to get to know me. Yeah, like, you know, I'm this big crazy slut and I, you know, fuck whatever on camera, but like I want them to know me first. And I think it's really hot when people do watch my work that I'm dating. But it's a privilege, so you get that later on. So not quite the same thing, but I just wanted to voice that. So
No, yeah, that's totally fair. I know what you're saying because I feel like if there's like too much eagerness to know your name and all of that stuff, I feel like immediately after this date they're gonna go look me up, and that's what they're gonna expect from now on, or something, you know. So I get that. I get that hiding the name thing. Samuel or Shayla, any more detailed ways you kind of protect your real self in this dating world?
I mean, I live in New York, so I just kind of take solace in the fact that realistically we'll never run into each other. That we are all just sort of blips on the, you know, in a city of 8 million people. Is that naive and potentially dangerous? Yes, absolutely, totally. And other than the like flipping my images on the thing, I just like regularly Google search my own name, and it's just like sort of digital security stuff. Like I regularly Google search my own name. I regularly Google search my own work name, and we kind of see what other people are like. If someone else were to Google me, if someone else were to track me down or attempt to track me down because I told them no, because I feel really good about setting my boundaries, and I feel really good about telling people to go fuck themselves when need be. But I am a little bit concerned about like stalker behavior. And so I just try to make sure I try to keep my own footprint, like digital footprint, fairly clean in that way. So
Smart, smart, smart. I especially love the tip that someone put in the chat, Sarah, about Google alerts for your own name. I've never thought of doing that, but I think I'm going to do that now. So yes, and Samuel, any other, you know, more detailed tips on how you protect your real self in the constant dating world?
Always, 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 every single time I'm dating someone, I am like the captain of broadcasting. I let everyone know about it. I am always, especially like it is New York, but I am very much like, this is the date I'm going on. I always let people see a picture of the person too. I always do. And especially because if I have a picture of them, I pretty much will always try to at least get a picture of their dick too. So I let them know, here's the picture, this is what their face looks like, this is what their dick looks like. And I'm very classic in that regard because New York, you never know. I need people to know which neighborhood I'm in. I will drop my pin, drop my location, and it will always be there. And then if someone wants my time or wants to, uh, I actually really like to go to strip clubs with people. I think it's a great way for me to see how they behave. And it's also going to let them know how they're going to be with me pretty much. So that's my go-to date. A horseback ride sounds good too, but I like a good strip club.
I have a question for
Yeah.
Samuel. So I think we're the only two people that sometimes turn dating apps into work or clients or things like that. And I'm curious how you determine ooh, is this kind of client mode or is this date mode, or do you determine by person, or is it dependent on what they bring to you? How does that work for you?
I see it very clearly in everything that has been mentioned on the panel when we've been discussing. I think Shayla mentioned it, Ashley mentioned it. Like, are you talking to me or are you about my experience with it? If my experience is centered with it, we could talk all night. That's the great conversation. It will be me and you, let's learn about each other. The second that you're centering the world's perception of what it is that I do, I've already flipped. I'm the dollar sign is in my brain and it's done. Just because I don't have a big tolerance for it too, because I deal with I get paid so regularly that way that it makes no sense for me to flip my brain into that zone and not see a dollar sign. But yeah, I'll usually and it depends, because I can also see, are you trying to learn something from me? Are you trying to experience something from me? Or are you solely just a fucking newbie here? Because I get a lot of newbie energy too. And yeah, it's also, I had one that was really bad actually once. He was very sweet and lived nearby me and actually found me through my normie, like the one that I told you I didn't have. The one that's there. He found that one. So he lived nearby me. He became a client. And then that's why I stay off, like that specific situation with this dude here is the reason I stay off of most things that have location vicinity stuff, because I turned him from kind of normie to client mode, and just him being in, like, I could see him 100 feet away from me. Hell fucking no, that weirded me out. The weirds.
That's
How do you
very
find that though?
interesting. That's very
I want to know
What's
from
up?
you as well, Lola, though. The same question though.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Determine
I want to hear how you switch a person that you matched with into a real like client situation.
Yeah, so for me, it's well, like Shayla knows this. The joke is that I will turn so many dudes on Tinder into my pay pigs, and like it just kind of happens. And like I'm not going on there for that. But that's the thing, is whenever a client or anything like that comes out of it, that is never my intention. So it is something from within them that I'm pulling out. And sometimes the things that I'm pulling out of them is like, oh, their kinky side, their subby side, and then sometimes it's their client side. So I have like there's I guess two sections of that, and one is like more of a financial domination, and that's like, to me, that's less of, they're paying me, but that's less of a client because they're like my lifestyle fin sub, because that works for me, because like we have a relationship, but part of our relationship is like based around money, and that's usually something where it's really inquiring, it comes from them. But like if someone's going to start asking me about like sessions, and like they start asking me about my work kind of in the way that you're saying, Samuel, then it's like, if someone's going to present me with money or they're going to ask, I'm not going to say no to that. And at the same time, if somebody who I'm like looking to them more in like a dating sense, and they start asking about something where it seems like they're asking me to teach them, it's like, I'm never going to give you my job for free from you requesting it. It's only something I can offer. And actually recently I offered someone I was dating, I'm like, well, I'm an expert in choking, so I can teach you that. And he's like, I really don't want to ask you to do your job for free though. And I was like, oh, that's thank you so much. I appreciate that. I want to do it for free for you. But like if someone were to ask me that way, it's like, well, I have to be wanting to invest that in you. But for all of like the different pay pigs that, I mean, my long-term pay pig who I've had for 5 or 6 years, thousands and thousands of dollars, like I met that person off of a threesome app that I don't use anymore. And it was like I pulled it out of him like it was nothing. And like, because I'm a space where they can be safe for these desires that they already have, that are already within them. And it's like, well, we can make that happen if it's something that you want. But it's always like, I get the question sometimes, I'm sure everyone on here does, of like, are you on here for work? Are you on here to get clients? And it's always like, no, I'm not. But if you want to be a client, I'm not going to say no. But I have like, that's why like my lifestyle FinDom pay pigs is different from like clients, because I have so much separation where like, if you're a client and you are not a lifestyle submissive, you do not get to talk to me outside of the session unless it's about the session. And like some of my clients, I have very friendly relations with, and I really like them as people, but I have a lot of separation outside of that. Whereas like my lifestyle submissives, my pay pigs, my fin subs, like we definitely it's based off of a friendship, but that friendship is also based off of this relationship that where money is involved. So it gets, I think that's the kind that I end up pulling most often off of apps. So it's kind of this gray area of like, are they a client? Are they not? It's still based around money. But it's the same thing that Samuel's saying. It comes out of them. Like they're the ones that are leading with this. We're not like trying to goat them in. We're not conning our way into it. Like we're just there and they're like, oh my God, I just want to give you money. Like, well, you can do that. Sure.
Sweet. And I will just say that I personally don't meet with people in person. I'm a very separated persona. So the moment they start expressing any kind of behavior that's like not dating me behavior, like client behavior, I usually end up blocking them and just giving them my like link or something of where they can subscribe, because I don't want to interact with that person in person. That's the way I feel, because I'm on there looking for like real people that I can be my real self with, not my persona self. If that's the case, I know how to get myself booked. That's the way I see it. So anyway, Ashley or Shayla, did you want to share your approach on why or why not you do or don't take clients or anything on dating apps?
I am horrified that my platforms are going to be deleted. So can I share a funny story? Okay, so I was working in a dungeon one night with a bunch of other women. This is kind of early on in my career. And one of them, a client had called the dungeon and said, I really want to eat, like I want to book a session, but I also want to eat her boyfriend's cum. Cuckolding is very like a popular thing, especially like a forced by cuckolding. So of course, she didn't have a boyfriend to cuck him with, and the manager on duty refused to jerk off into a condom for us. So she got on Tinder and she started swiping right on everybody, being like, hey, I know this is a super weird request, but I really need like a condom of spunk. It's for a thing, it's like a kinky thing. And of course she got banned from Tinder, like permanently banned from Tinder altogether. So I am obviously not going to start to go on Tinder and ask for like, you know, condoms full of other people's jizz, but I am a little bit concerned about, I have noticed in being a sex worker online, so I don't post a lot of things that aren't like Instagram, like go against the Instagram terms of service. Like I am fully covered. Like I am relatively conservative with my image online, and yet I find that postings get taken down, and I am assuming it's because like haters are reporting me. And so, which is the case for so many things, where something will be up and then will immediately come down and then go only to be approved, but then immediately come back down again. And that's because the algorithm or the responder is taking things down when it gets X amount of flags. So I find that I don't ever really talk about work on the platform because I don't want any excuse for them to delete me for that. Also, I feel like this is like I keep up with so many social media accounts as Shayla anyway. I feel like Tinder just adds to the workload. And if I'm here trying to have fun, then I'm not really interested in presenting an image or like keeping like the brand on point in like a Tinder DM. So I don't use it for clients. Although I feel like it would be really, really profitable if you did.
Right, same. I'm listening to what Samuel and Lola are saying, and I'm like, I definitely see the benefits I'm missing out on. However, like, I don't know about I really cannot handle a social account deletion. I cannot handle another one. So I'm very, very, very minding my P's and Q's. Ashley, why do you maybe not take clients on in the dating realm of dating apps?
I guess maybe partly because like I don't I don't want my accounts deleted. And I also like that's just for me that's not what I'm like looking for. And so I'm just focused, I guess, on like the dating aspect that like I don't know, I get maybe I'm just like oblivious if there is like an opportunity to make money because I'm just not in that headspace. So that's probably the only reason why, but you guys have kind of put that thought in my brain now, so maybe I might do that and see how it works out, but I I don't know. I'm focused on the dating part right now, so I'm so busy with like just work.
Yeah.
So like with all the, companies and stuff. So yeah.
I was gonna say, we have a brand ambassador of Field in our mistress Lola over here. So I was gonna say, isn't that one of the ones where if you were going to dip your toe in that area, Ashley, it might actually be one of the safer ones? Am I right or wrong? I feel like when I've been on Field, the thing that I liked about it is I did feel like I've heard people mentioning they want to, if we want to trade content or do something like that in a way that seemed very open the way we are on Twitter sometimes. So, but I really want to hear it from you. Take it away.
Yeah, so I have had my profile deleted on Field, and it was because I had my website there, because I actually got a lot of work out of it for the sex educator and like events and things I was doing. And like I'm like Samuel, I'm in like hustle mode like pretty much all the time, or I can tap into it in a second. And like I'm like, yeah, if you want to buy my work, if like I don't care, yeah, give me your money. But Field is also susceptible to false assessment, as is everyone. So while they can't technically say like sex work is allowed to exchange on our platform, just don't do things that'll get you deleted. Don't put your Instagram handles, your, OnlyFans, your website, like don't do anything that looks like it's there to monetize as well. I mean, like if that's what you're going to do in the chat, or you take it off of there, but also like, firstly, people have like swiped on my Field profile. I have not matched with them. They have gone through and gone to my website to email me to say, hey, I saw you on here and thought we might be able to match. No, that is creepy. That is a lot of steps to go through, where you could have been like, this is creepy at any one of those steps. But my point with that is, if they really want to buy your work and figure it out, and you want to also use it to promote yourself, Google exists and they will be able to find it. Like mine says Lola J, they can type that in, they'll find it, they'll write Lola Sex Educator and figure it out. I think on my profile I say, not here for work, but if that's what comes out of it, it's a bonus. That might even be like a little bit too risky for it, but just by existing there, and even just saying like I'm a model, like if people want to go to whatever's going to exist after OnlyFans and give you money, they'll do it. But I do think that it is a safer space for sex workers. And the reason that I like Field the most, and that it's best for my sanity, is I think that the assholes reveal themselves earlier, because it is intended to be a sex positive space, because it is more open in that way. It's sex forward space. You talk about those things. So the people that aren't capable of talking about that, or the people that aren't capable of understanding there is more than one way to express your sexuality, like that becomes known earlier on, because you're talking about these things and you can see who can handle it or not. So like there's some people that are like, well, if you're not here to have sex immediately, why are you on here? It's like, that's not the only point of the app. It's called a dating app. You can use it for a fucking app, but it's a dating app. But I think while not everyone on the app is going to be great, I do think it's easier to spot the people that you would or would not mesh with. Also, it's a lot less utilized of an app. So there's a lot less people. There's also a lot more queer people. I've seen so many more gender identities. There's so many more options for
Way
gender
less
identities.
Cis, gender, hetero,
That too.
straight, cis, plain guys and people in general. Could I say plain cis anymore? But yeah, they're abundant on the other apps. I do like Field because of the variety of people. Seems really
cool. Yeah, I think in general, like because of FOSTA, you can't solicit. Don't look like you're soliciting, but the internet exists, Google exists. So just by being there, looking hot and saying, I do these cool things, they'll find you. So like that could be the way. Like there's room to monetize anywhere. You can make a LinkedIn and probably monetize off that, just having it up there. And I have found that field has been really great for like work and events and things like that. But since Fossa Sessa, can't put my website on there anymore.
That is all very good to know. I mean, I hope that we have shared tips that people can really learn from and implement into their dating life. I see someone just change their job to an accountant after this panel. That was one thing that's something we can also get into, is maybe what name or title do you put, not name, but like what title of yourself, or how do you like Ashley was saying, put the little hint with the chains. How do you hint at what people are about to get themselves into without just throwing it all out there on the table? Like in your profile, what is that little hint that you do? For me, I put change maker and iconoclast, because like if you're not scared by the word iconoclast, that's cool. I have scared people literally with that word, because they're like, what does that mean? But why do you want to challenge systems? But why? Okay, bye. You're scared. But if you're like cool and turned on by someone that challenges systems and wants to make things better and improved, hey, that's what I'm about. But not just like sex wise, but like industry wise and all of the things that I'm interested in. And I also put public. I think I put public, not public persona, but I think I put I'm very busy and I do a lot of stuff publicly. So like you can infer whatever you want from that, like, but I just want them to realize they are not about to date someone that works at the mall. So this is not going to be like a regular lifestyle dating situation, I guess. Like that's my little way of saying it. It's like those fancy words, iconoclast, change maker, and like public persona or a type thing. So yeah, maybe anyone else, like what you use as your job.
I literally just put in there, I wear heels bigger than your dick.
I mean, you do.
That's what it is. No, there's no emoji that does that work for me.
God, I know the heel emoji does not go high enough. You're right.
No.
I have to like look up mine's so long now. I do enjoy a list of likes and dislikes. It feels like a less off-putting way to being like, here's who should talk to me, here's who shouldn't, for, you know, again, the values. But I think two things that were interesting that I put on here is, one thing is I wrote that like, I said I'm like teaching no frills sex ed classes, events, and other equally surprising things. So basically that's just like, I do a lot of weird shit. You don't know what it is yet, but like if that doesn't scare you off, and again, you just still speak to me like a person. But I also wrote in the end, like, spoiler alert, I don't enjoy being treated as an object. If you want to win me over, try starting with a conversation. So like I like to give people tools of like, here's how you should interact with me. And if you don't, it's kind of like the people who go on my social media and think that I'm going to deliver customer service and not like really sassy responses.
Right?
Like,
yeah. And they're like,
do you not know who I am?
This
like,
way. I'm reporting you to your manager. Like I'm the manager and I fucking talk this way. Step into my office.
It's like, did you not think I was going to be mean to men? Like that's my whole brand.
Yeah. They love you for it.
Right.
Anyone else, maybe your creative, clever way of hinting at what people are about to get into with you?
I don't tell them at all.
Oh, I love it.
Job is absent, like suspiciously absent from every dating profile I've ever been on. Although back in the day on OkCupid, you could like list your industry, like a vague industry, and then you could list your income level. And so I just left the industry part blank and then put like plus $100,000. And I feel like that explained it to enough people that they were like, oh, okay, so there's not a category for her, but this is approximately how much money she makes. She's doing something, like she's not working at the mall. So that was the move. Now I don't tell them until it's like very much a need to know basis.
I feel that. I love your attitude about it. Like you're just like, you are who you are and they take it or leave it, and you will fucking leave if they don't take it. And Ashley, like beyond the little, ball and chain or the chain emoji, is there another like easy hint way that you kind of try and ease people into what they're about to get into?
I guess on like the more vanilla, I'll probably put in something like I do a bunch of weird things. Or like just something stupid like that, but like on my field, even though I don't say like what I do, As you said, it is more sex positive, and there's a bunch of kinksters and stuff. I mean, there's a photo of me in my like latex cat suit, and like and I probably mentioned like I like bondage or something. So so there's that. So I mean, those are just two very small things out of the wide variety of fetishes that I enjoy. So it's like, you know, if you can't get behind latex and bondage, then it's like
Right. Yeah, already like dismissed.
I was gonna say, actually, part of I think one of the things that's like fun or interesting about me to like say like, oh, I'm a sex educator, is then like I'll get the people who are like, there's gonna be some people that are like, oh, I really want you to teach me sex. I'm like,
Yeah.
Here's my website. Or the people that just see that and then treat me like a person. Like, I don't want to have like this reveal of like, this is what I do, and then see if they treat me as a person. So I moved that filter forward because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Let's move that gate forward so that anyone who like literally if anyone ever says I want you to teach me about sex in any kind of opener, automatically I'm turned off. I'm done. Out of it.
I agree. I just saw that screenshot that Sarah dropped into the chat, and I welcome everybody to look at that because that is such an extreme red flag. Like the fact that he just like straight out felt so entitled to be able to ask something like that. I always try and put people back in reality world when they ask those questions of me, like, oh, can you teach me this? Can you just straight up? And I'm just like, yeah, are you willing to like teach me how to invest my money in this like for free? Like whatever their specialty of work is. Are you going to give me free dental operations? Are you going to like, why the fuck, if I can get paid thousands of dollars by people that want to learn from me or whatever, you for free, who I just matched with, who I may not even have great sex with? I don't know. So definitely, like, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Pay attention to your intuition, those red flags that pop up that make you just pause or stutter step or kind of question. Run it by another friend or something, you know, just be like, what the fuck would you say to something like this? Because they are clever too. They want their free shit too, you know. So don't give out your energy and your expertise and your prowess and your goddessness and your godness, if you're, I don't know, to anybody, you know. Make them earn that shit, because yeah, we're definitely worth it. Any last words from anyone else before we close out this very fun and wonderful panel on dating? Let's go around in a circle. I'll go backwards this time. Ashley, and then we'll go to Shayla, Sam, and then Lola last. So go ahead, last closing words.
Oh goodness. I don't know. I loved everyone's dating style, and I learned so much from each one of you. And I think, yeah, just use whichever is comfortable for you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. So
you do know what to say. You're awesome. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, and Miss Shayla, any last words?
At the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be exciting. This should not feel like a chore. And if it does, it's time to take a step back, because there are far, far, far worse things than being single or not getting laid. And if this is turning into a chore or something that doesn't spark joy in your life, then it's time to either take a step back or just like quit altogether and be like, you know what, we'll try this in a year. We'll try this in 2 years. You only have one life, so you have to really have a good time with this.
Absolutely. And Samuel, last closing thoughts?
Fuck yes. Amen to that. And really just fuck safe, fuck proud, and have some fun.
Yes, definitely be safe and proud. And Miss Lola, wrap it on up for us, please.
Yeah, to reiterate what Ashley's saying, like, I love, like, there's not one right way to do this. It's about what works for you. And that's why I love how all of, like, some of y'all styles never going to work for me, and then vice versa. So dating apps are a tool. Monkeys have sticks, we have phones. So you can use it for good or bad, but just make sure of like what is serving you. And I also encourage you to determine like, what does success on a dating app look like for you? Maybe it's quantity, maybe it's quality, maybe it's like long-term, whatever it is, friendships, like, you know, figure out what it is that you want from it that brings you joy, and then figure out a way that you can make that happen without compromising yourself and without burning out. And that's going to kind of help determine which of these styles work for you. And maybe it's some combination or mishmash between the 5 of us, or completely different. But that's kind of the point in showing you all of our different perspectives and what's worked for us.
Very well said. So yeah, now you have some extra tools in your ammunition belt for dating. Get out there and go have some fun and orgasms and love and enjoy. Bye everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, panelists. Thank you.